stretching for runners. This is going to be pretty brief, I think. We're going to talk about 3 different types of flexibility training. You want to have different components in your running program. You have running training, strength training, which could include core and just general resistance exercises. But flexibility training is super important for runners. Why? Because if you have long muscles, it allows your joints to work through their full range of motion, which means you're less likely to get injured. So the 3 types of stretching that are really great for runners are static stretching, dynamic stretching, and what's called myofascial release. Starting with static stretching, that's your typical, reach out, try and touch my toes, hold it for 30 to 40 seconds. Rest and repeat kind of thing. For low intensity exercise, it's fine to do this before as well as after, especially after, because when you exercise, you break down the muscle. You want to, when it heals tighter. So by stretching after workout, you're putting it back to that natural, what's called length-tension relationship. Dynamic stretching is event or activity-specific movements that increase the tension of the muscle without increasing the length. So, people do drills, and are we doing that next Saturday? Yeah. We're gonna have a clinic, I don't know where, we can put it up here. We're gonna have a clinic next Saturday, where?
I don't know the name of the park. It's the First Neighborhood
Bennett
Park in Westlake Village?
No, Bennett Park. It's
Bennett
over
Park.
Off of Green Gate
and
Gore Road. We're just gonna go through some of these dynamic type of drills that we can do. Typical ones that people are probably pretty familiar with, high knees or butt kickers, things that are exaggerated movements that you would use during your type of activity. So again, when you're doing a high knee like this, you're increasing the tension in your hip flexors, which brings the blood in, warms it up, and that creates the basically that flexibility through the tissue. Holding a stretch for too long will activate a stretch reflex, which actually makes the muscle a little bit tighter. So when you're doing a high intensity activity, whether it be a threshold workout or speed work or sprints or jumps or whatever, where you're using a lot of fast twitch muscles, you want to stay away from a lot of static stretching beforehand, because it can actually make the muscles a bit tighter. So dynamic stretching is great for before a higher intensity activity, and then afterwards, go back to your static stretching, get that length back into the tissues. The last one I'll talk about is myofascial release. This is something you can do whenever you feel like it. If you have sore muscles or you just feel a little bit tight, chances are you've got some knots along your muscle fiber. Myofascial release, a lot of people use foam rollers, or we carry a product called a stick, which is it's a self-massage tool. The foam roller, you use your body weight and just roll across your muscle. You find a tender spot, hold it there for 20 to 30 seconds, and then progress on. What it does is applying pressure to the knot actually helps to release and get the elasticity back into the muscle fiber. So it's really good if you ever feel just tight. Yes?
Are you suggesting doing that before or after?
You can do it both,
Okay.
if you'd like. You can do it before, after. You can do it when your muscles are warm or when they're cold, because you're not increasing the length of the muscle, and that's when you're doing static stretching. You're increasing both the length and the tension. You got to make sure your muscles are nice and warm. Going through a low intensity 12 minutes or so, a low intensity jog or a fast paced walk will get the blood flowing and warm up the tissues so they're more elastic and allow you to stretch